So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah! What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, the Detroit Lions are in full swing of the 2023 preseason, right? They just started mandatory minicamp, and with the Lions being one of the more spotlighted teams this offseason, there's going to be a lot of news and a lot of rumors surrounding this team. News about which players are performing at minicamp. News about which players are potentially looking for an extension and looking to remain Detroit Lions for a long time. Players that could potentially be looking to join the Detroit Lions and players the Lions could potentially be interested in. And today, I want to talk about all of that. I want to take a look at the news and rumors currently surrounding the Detroit Lions and just kind of talk about them, talk about whether they're valid, talk about whether they should be taken seriously. And for some news and rumors, talk about whether or not it would be a good idea in terms of extensions or which players are playing well and should potentially be on the team. So with that being said, I want to kick it off with a player that is looking for a contract extension. That player is starting and former Pro Bowl left guard Jonah Jackson. Now, Jonah Jackson will be entering the 2023 NFL season on an expiring rookie contract. He's played 4 seasons now for the Detroit Lions and been a phenomenal player for them after finding him in the 3rd round out of Ohio State. Now, Jonah Jackson made the Pro Bowl in 2021, took a massive step forward as far as being a Pro Bowl caliber guard, and in 2022 did even better. Allowed 0 sacks in 2022 on 858 snaps on the left guard position, and was one of the few players to actually be fully healthy for the entire season on the Detroit Lions offensive line, right? The offensive line over the last couple of years has seen a lot of movement. They've seen a lot of different players changing positions to fill needs and fit what they need for that particular game or season or whatever the case may be. But Jonah Jackson has been one of the few players to be consistently healthy and consistently available at the left guard position for the Detroit Lions over the last 2 years, and he needs an extension, right? Taylor Decker is great. Jonah Jackson is phenomenal. Frank Ragnow is great as well, as then you have Big V and Penei Sewell, both players that are expensive, but are going to be your foundational pieces for the offensive line. Jonah Jackson, I think, completes this offensive line, right? Him and Decker and Ragnow and Penei Sewell should be Detroit Lions for the next 5 years until all 4 of them retire. And the only position that's not 100% solidified right now is that right guard position. But even then, if Halapoulivaati Vaitai is healthy, he is a top tier guard in the NFL and showed it and played like it the last time he was fully healthy and on the field. Now, I think Jonah Jackson could see an extension as early as this offseason or at some point during the 2023 season. He's a key part of the Detroit Lions offensive line and is a key part in not only the rushing attack, but also the pass protection, and just overall is a top 10 guard in the NFL right now and needs a contract extension sooner rather than later. Now, taking a look and kind of diving into the second day of minicamp a little bit, there's been a lot of takeaways, right? There's been a lot of players that have been standing out. There's been a lot of players that have kind of had positive storylines about them. But overall, I want to start off by taking a look at the defense as a whole. Now, Jared Goff, the starting quarterback of the Detroit Lions, has already mentioned several times how the defense is better, right? The coverage is improved. The separation isn't there like it was last season, and it's making his job as an offensive starter that much more difficult. Now, we've seen a ton of players in 11-on-11 and 7-on-7 drills walk away with interceptions, including Ifeatu Melifonwu throughout OTAs, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Brady Breeze, Starling Thomas V, Brandon Joseph, Jerry Jacobs, as well as Kirby Joseph, all of whom have walked away with interceptions in 11-on-11 or 7-on-7 contests. And one thing that we're seeing a lot this offseason that we haven't seen the last couple years is the trash talk, is the competition aspect that all of our DBs seem to have right now, right? Chauncey Gardner-Johnson came to the came to the Detroit Lions defense and added that level of confidence, right? Added that level of trash talk, and it's been very infectious, right? He is not the Johnson is not the only player that's been doing it. Tracy Walker's got in on it. Kirby Joseph has gotten in on it. Jerry Jacobs has gotten in on it. And those are only DBs that have been practicing with the first team. A lot of the second team DBs are following in their footsteps and following exactly what they're doing. And it's brought a whole nother level of confidence to this Detroit Lions defense. Right? For the last couple of years, really since Darius Slay has left, they haven't had that lockdown corner. They haven't had that presence on the defense. They haven't had that cocky player that's going to taunt you after every single incompletion and make you frustrated as an offense, make you frustrated as a quarterback, and come up with big plays in big moments. I think the closest thing we got last year was Kirby Joseph's backflip after the interceptions and kind of the celebration. But even that wasn't a cocky taunting. It wasn't kind of that trash talk that we were used to with Darius Slay. But now I think that element is returning to the Detroit Lions, and I think that level of confidence is increasing. I think the level of playmaking is increasing, and as the defense starts to make more plays, as they start to build more confidence, they're talking a lot more on the field to the offense, and it's frustrating the offense that much more on top of the talent level improvements that they've already seen. So I think that the defense is going to be much improved this season. Based off what we've seen at OTAs, it is much improved this season, and I think it's going to be a really fun defense to watch. I think it's going to be a defense that forces a lot of turnovers, and a defense is going to get on the nerves of a lot of different offenses throughout the 2023 season. Now, sticking with mandatory minicamp, there's been a lot of standouts over the last 2 days, and this list is incredibly long, but every single player has earned their way onto this risers list, and I think every single player on this list is worthy of mention. Now, the first riser I want to talk about is going to be Jahmyr Gibbs, a player that did have a few drop concerns early on the first day of minicamp, but bounced back on day 2, bounced back in team periods with the 11-on-11 and 7-on-7s, and was completely dominant, was incredibly explosive out of the run game, was very good as a pass catcher, and although he did have some drops against air, he made up for it against actual defenders, creating separation, being a fluid receiver, and just making big plays when the Detroit Lions needed it most. Now, Jameson Williams is a player that continues to improve through offseason trainings and mandatory minicamps. A player that's taken a lot of criticism over the last couple of weeks, has been a really good player through the first 2 days of minicamps, even having a drive in 11-on-11 periods where he had 3 straight receptions for first downs. And then after a play off, he made another big play down the field and just continues to be a big play threat that the Detroit Lions offense has been missing. Him and Jared Goff's chemistry has really started to come together and has really started to become a strength more so than a weakness or a question mark. Now, Starling Thomas IV is a UDFA cornerback that a lot of people have very high hopes for. And although he's only playing with the third string defense right now, he did have a really good and jumped pass interception yesterday that showed off his speed, showed off his ability to make plays, and showed off his change of direction as an athlete, as well as his instincts as a defensive back. Now, James Houston was kind of the diamond in the rough last year for the Detroit Lions defense, and this offseason, he's actually been playing mostly with the second and third string defense. He hasn't had very many reps with the first string defensive line, and it's not entirely clear whether that is a performance thing. It's not entirely clear if it's just a seniority thing, if it's just he's going to have to earn his spot and earn his reps again type of thing. But he has been playing primarily with the second and third string, which you could say is a little concerning. However, James Houston has been wreaking havoc on the second and third string offensive lines for the entirety of minicamp. Since the first day he stepped on the field and was put back with the twos, he has been wreaking havoc, and I have no doubt that he is going to reach his way back into the first team reps very soon. Now, Kirby Joseph is another player that was kind of a diamond in the rough, a top 100 pick a season ago, just at the bottom of the third round, who became one of the best players on the Lions defense last season, walking with 4 interceptions and continuing his success throughout training camp. Had another big game ceiling, or I guess rep ceiling interception versus Jared Goff in 11-on-11s, where he handed the ball to Sheila Ford Hamp and continued to celebrate with his teammates. As I said, the confidence is through the roof right now for Kirby Joseph and these defensive backs, and he is continuing to improve off of a very solid start to his rookie career. Now, Marvin Jones Jr. is kind of the new addition to the wide receiving core, and he has been very good. Although he hasn't really been the talk of the town, he's not the big play threat that Jameson Williams isn't, the first round pick that Jahmyr Gibbs isn't the undrafted underdog free agent story, or isn't the undrafted underdog story that maybe Dylan Drummond is. Marvin Jones has quietly been having himself a very good mini camp as well, just being a very smooth route runner, knowing where to settle down in space, and very quickly developing a good connection with quarterback Jared Goff. Now, these last three players are guys that haven't necessarily been great every day, but have had some standout performances or had some standout reps that I thought were worthy of mention. Broderick Martin, a player that was brought in the third round of the 2023 NFL draft, is a player that was projected to be a nose tackle, not necessarily a pass rusher, not necessarily a pressure guy, but throughout OTAs and throughout minicamp, he's had several reps of really good pass rush, including a pass breakup thrown by Nate Sudfeld, where he was in Sudfeld's face, got his hands up, and was able to knock the pass away before it ever became dangerous or got close to a wide receiver. Now, Stephen Gilmore is a player that we have yet to talk about on this channel, and a player that I genuinely didn't know the Detroit Lions signed until today, but he has been making plays throughout minicamp as well, including a 4th and goal at the 1-yard line pass breakup in 11 on 11 reps versus Amon-Ra St. Brown, a player that is one of the best route runners, the best separators in the NFL. And Stephen Gilmore went toe to toe with him. And I got to have it down at the 1-yard line and forced a pass breakup on our number 1 wide receiver, right? Starling Thomas gets a lot of hype for his speed, gets a lot of hype for kind of being the scrappy player like Jerry Jacobs was when he was coming out. But Stephon Gilmore, I think, is the most underrated player on this defense right now, and might have been the best defensive player on the second day of mandatory minicamp. He has been showing out and showing his skills all over the football field. And I think he has just as much of an opportunity to make this roster as Starling Thomas does, if not a better opportunity. And then the last player I want to talk about is Dylan Drummond, continuing to work with these second and third string offenses, but continuing to make a lot of plays, continuing to just make plays through the air, having a good connection with both Sudfeld and Martinez, creating separation and being kind of the underdog story that he continues to have, right? Wasn't actually signed originally as a UDFA, worked his way through rookie minicamp, got a contract, and now is continuing to work his way up the depth chart and continuing to make a lot of impressive plays throughout these practices and scrimmages. Now, with a lot of the offensive players finding their rhythm, right, with Gibbs and Williams and Jones and Drummond really starting to find their footing, the Lions offense has gotten significantly better. The chemistry with Jared Goff has improved significantly over the last couple of days. The big plays have been there more often than not, and the confidence from the offense is starting to get back to where it was a season ago. Right? I think the Detroit Lions defense taking a massive jump kind of stunted what the Lions offense was able to do throughout OTAs, but the Lions offense is stepping up to meet the challenge. The chemistry is starting to develop much faster throughout minicamp than it did throughout OTAs. The big plays are there, and not only does Jared Goff now have a connection with, guys that he was there last year, right? Guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Khalif Raymond, and Josh Reynolds. Now he has a big chemistry and is building really good chemistry with Jahmyr Gibbs, with Jameson Williams, with Marvin Jones, with Sam Laporta, with James Mitchell, and now he's having 5 or 6 or even 7 weapons on the field that he has good chemistry with and is making big plays with. He's making tight window throws, big plays down the field, and his confidence of the entire offense is continuing to improve drastically over the last couple of days. So with all that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. That is kind of the mini camp check-in, as well as the news and rumors surrounding the Detroit Lions. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about the mini camp so far. What are your biggest takeaways? What players have impressed you the most? And what do you want to hear about as we continue forward? What players do you want me to focus on as we go through the preseason as well as training camp and mini camps? I'd be very curious what you guys have to say. But with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. If you enjoyed the content, please make sure you get down below and subscribe, as well as like the video. Helps the channel out a ton. And if you hit the bell notification, you will never miss a Detroit Lions upload. But with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you all so very much for watching. And until next time, and as always, go Lions.